was kind of a little bit of like a scary, stressful time. Like I remember that spring 2018, like I didn't know where my future was headed. And, you know, I knew I wanted to go back to undergrad, but I was like, I don't even know where. I don't know where to start. I remember like phoning friends and crying, honestly, and like being super, super stressed and being like, I literally don't know where the hell my future is going.
Hi, welcome to Adulthood Pending Podcast. I'm Brittany.
I'm Annalise.
And I'm Kimmy.
We are a podcast for college students, recent graduates, or anyone else who's also figuring out that being an adult isn't as simple as it's made out to be. Join us each episode as we share how we are navigating our careers, post-grad lives, and the whole adulting experience.
Today, we're joined by a special guest, Maddie Dutton. Maddie knows all of us from Scripps College, where we first met, and she's had tons of experiences moving to different locations and environments, which is why we wanted to bring her on today to discuss that, because we believe that's an important aspect of going through adulthood, is living in different areas and meeting new people and really just navigating your adult life in these new environments. So we're so excited to have you here today, Maddie, to just share your stories and all the different places you've been living.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited to be here and to talk about all of this with you guys because, you know, I know you guys have also been all over the place studying abroad, living in various places, you know, your journey taking you all over the country. So I think this is going to be a very fun conversation about this.
Cool. To start things off, we're going to start with a fun question. So if you could live anywhere in the world for a year, where would it be?
For me, so my all-time favorite movie is
Pride and Prejudice.
I don't know why I totally blanked on that. Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley. And in college, I studied English. So I would just love to live in the English countryside for a year.
Ooh.
Yeah, maybe like not maybe too far from a city because I don't know if I could actually handle being by myself for that long. But yeah, living that romantic, light, pastoral English countryside. So yeah, probably for a year would be good enough for me.
It's pretty good. I feel like if I could live in a place for a year, in a country for a year, I think it would be Australia.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend there right now too. So, and like, it just seemed, I'm just so jealous of him because he's like there and it's always great weather. And he was at the beach a while ago and I was just really jealous of that lifestyle. Probably like in the city because I see a lot of things about like all those wildlife in Australia.
Yeah.
And that freaks me out.
Like
so
wild.
Definitely the city. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say
kangaroo thing, not a joke. Not like
they will punch you.
Yeah, like they're rampant. Like it's not just like a rare sighting of a kangaroo. Like they are out and about, ready to fight, on site with the kangaroo.
But yeah, I think I would be Sydney. And I have actually my mom's aunt lives in Melbourne. So they're not near each other, but it would be nice to have like family in Australia.
Yeah.
Nice. I would love to live in New Zealand. I feel like my interest has definitely heightened since the pandemic because they've gotten everything together. But beyond that, my friend's sister lives there and she loves it. And my friend visited right before the pandemic hit. And there's just like so much nature there and seems like a very relaxed place to live. And on top of that, I had another good friend tell me that I need to visit because I would love it there. And
it's beautiful from what I've seen.
Wait, why you specifically?
Because there's like a lot of things to do in the outdoors. And for practicality reasons, apparently it's only a day and 4 hours ahead of Pacific time. So you technically could probably like still work there if you if you worked out of the US, but you moved there.
New Zealand is definitely like a big country crush for a lot of people because of just how they handle everything. And I think a lot of people here in America who aren't like crazy, look at how they handle things there and they're like, that makes sense. it made
Yeah.
sense to shut things down during the pandemic. It makes sense to give everyone basic human rights. Like, that makes sense. Like, I think for my country crush. That's what I'm gonna call it. My country crush. Yeah. Me and my mom 3 years ago, we took a mother-daughter trip to Italy. We visited like 3 different cities there. We had a blast. I had a blast with Dana. Dana and I, we drank and ate our way through Italy. It was a wonderful time. But I loved Florence. It was gorgeous. The men, oh my God, the men. The men. You guys are like, Maddie's really driven by the men in some places. No, okay, so this is gonna sound really, so men there have very good fashion, like very pristine fashion taste. They do this thing where they'll wear like not skin tight pants, but like on the tighter side, like they're not baggy, which I think looks really good on like a tall, slender guy. But they'll do this thing where they'll kind of cuff like the ankles in it, like you see a little, not cuff it, but you see a little ankle, and it's like, ooh, why is this ankle like sexy? Like, what's up with this ankle? Like, I just remember me and my mom, we would stay at dinner, like eating truffle pasta. And we would be, like, whenever we saw a cute guy, we would call them a gelato. That was our code name for when we would see a cute guy. We'd be like, there's a gelato. At 5 o'clock, there's a gelato. 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, turn 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, there's a gelato. We'd be sitting at dinner. I'd be like, look at that. Look at the ankles on those gelatos over there. Oh my God. But it's also just, it's gorgeous. I love just like the atmosphere of it and everything like that. I'm just trying to like be like, it's not just for the men, but
the history.
The history is so rich.
The art.
Yeah, no, but it's great. I think everyone there just seemed like a vibe. There you go.
Mm-hmm. So Maddie, as our guest, like we ask everyone that comes on our episodes, where are you on your adulthood journey?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, when you guys like sent me over a list of like, you know, the potential questions that are going to be asked, I read that one and I was like, oh crap. Like, no, I don't have a place in my adulthood. No. It's totally fine. I get why you asked that. It's the standard question. But I feel like it's a very like loaded question. Like, where am I in my adulthood journey? I don't know. Thinking of adopting a pet. Like, could that be where someone is in their adulthood journey, you know? But I was like, wow, this is a really loaded question, but a good one as well, and very relevant to this show. So where am I in my adulthood journey? Well, I would say, I mean, you know, so I originally did my freshman year at Scripps College in 2016 to 2017. And if I continued on that trajectory that I was expected to be, then I would currently be probably where Kimmy is in her adulthood journey right now. Like first year out of college, working somewhere, probably remote with this pandemic, and like a little worry in the back of my mind. Like, not saying Kimmy has this, but Kimmy probably has, I don't know. But a little worry in the back of my mind of like, oh no. But yeah, instead though, I am in my junior year at UC Santa Barbara, and you know, took 2 years off of school. So I would say, in my adulthood journey, I bought myself some time. I bought myself some time in my adulthood journey because I was not ready to do my adulthood journey. And that's okay. But I would say right now I am just still trying to figure out like what I want to do, what my interests are, you know, what am I gravitating towards to, what am I not, you know, very, very general things. I wish I had a more narrow, like this is where I am in my adulthood journey. But I would say it's very like I bought myself time, and it's very like, I don't know, a little up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also the pandemic has like, and if, like the pandemic, I mean, it's yeah, I am gonna blame the pandemic for this one, actually. Like, I know it's pretty easy to just like throw blame on like outside things, but I think the pandemic actually has sort of thrown me, and probably the rest of you, like in sort of like the air of like, oh, ooh, where am I in my adulthood now? Like, oh my, like it really upended every single person on this planet's life. So yeah.
Do you feel like that you intentionally took those 2 years off, like knowing that you wanted to take those extra years?
No.
Or was it just like, okay?
No.
So then what was that decision like then in that process?
Honestly, like when I think back on, because I left Scripps, right? Did my freshman year there. Claremont schools are great. That is a wonderful institution. That is an amazing set of schools. You know, you are just, you know, you are surrounded by some smart, driven, very, very, you know, friendly people there. And I think they're great schools. So, you know, I loved experiencing that. But I knew that, you know, when my time had sort of finished up there after my freshman year, I wasn't in love with them personally. Like I could see why like a lot of my friends were and how they were, you know, these amazing set of schools. But for me, it really just came down to like, I don't know, like I just was like, I feel like this is not my place. You know, I don't know, like I was like, I think I need to be in a bigger environment. And that really like solidified for me. After my freshman year at Claremont, you know, I was like, oh, you know, in my head, very much this fight of like, you know, Maddie, like we want to go back. We have friends there. It's pretty. There's opportunities. Like you should go back. But on the other side of my head, I was like, I know I don't want to. I know I don't want to go back. But I remember that summer, I interned at a artificial intelligence startup right in the heart of Manhattan. And it was part-time. I was in Manhattan 3 days. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with New York City. It was probably the first time in my life I ever felt like this is my place. Like I finally feel like I belong somewhere. Like I didn't feel that in high school. I didn't feel that in New Jersey in general. I definitely feel it more in California, but not fully. But I remember like after that summer in New York City, I was like, I love it here. Like this is my place. This is where I belong. And one of the things that attracted me to the city was just like, there's 10 million people there. Like it's huge. Like I just felt like you were all constantly like meeting a revolving door of people, interacting with a revolving door of people from all different sort of backgrounds you can imagine, any possibility. And I was like, I love this. So, you know, just, you know, having that experience there. But I didn't want to go to college in the city because going to college, unless you're at Columbia, which has a campus, the rest of colleges in New York City do not have a campus. I don't know if you guys watched like the To All the Boys I Love, the you know,
the third one,
the third one, and the girl's like, "This city's the campus," like, that is true. But yeah, no. So I loved it there. That's what I knew. But you know, at some point in the middle of that year, because you know, my mom was like, "Oh, do you want to go back to Scripps?" And I was like, "Oh, let's just, you know, gap semester." And then it turned into gap year. And then in like March 2018, I was like, yeah, I don't want to go back. I sorry. Maybe I should have brought that up sooner. But it was a very stressful time for me personally, because for a while I didn't know where my future was going, because I didn't want to go back to Scripps. And I think, my parents were kind of like, oh, like, we don't really want to send you somewhere if like you don't actually, like, your entire heart isn't there. But, I also wasn't sure like if I could transfer somewhere. Honestly, like, coming out of Scripps, I didn't have the best grades. Like, I was just in my mind, like, I was like, I don't know where I want to go. I didn't really like all the colleges I explored in high school. Like, I didn't necessarily love, like, it was kind of a little bit of like a scary, stressful time. Like, I remember that spring 2018, like, I didn't know where my future was headed. And, I knew I wanted to go back to undergrad, but I was like, I don't even know where. I don't know where to start. I remember like phoning friends and crying, honestly, and like being super, super stressed and being like, I literally don't know where the hell my future is going. Like, I help. But I had a very like sort of serious sit down conversation with my parents, and they just were finally like, Maddie, if you don't want to go back to Scripps, like, that's okay. That's okay if you don't want to go back. We're going to have to come up with a bit of an alternative plan. But, their whole thing was, they were like, okay, go do 2 years at a community college somewhere and then transfer into wherever you can get into, anywhere in the country. And I remember back in high school, I was really interested in UC Santa Barbara. Like, I was like, this school seems cool. Like, really good size, right by the beach in California. And just like, I don't know, everything I was reading about it, like the students there just seemed like really happy to be there. Just like, yeah, overall, like good vibes, student body, but also still a really, really good school. So I immediately was like, that's where I want to go. That's where I want to, like, I was just like, I don't even want to look anywhere else. Like, that's where I want to go. So, I had to look into things like, I was like, oh, okay, Santa Barbara City College, which is like the community college in Santa Barbara, do like, a year and a half there, transfer into UC Santa Barbara. And that's actually a very, Brittany, you mentioned you're from California. Kimmy, I know you're from California. Apparently that's a very common thing there for a lot of like kids, like coming from like a California high school, like to like go to CC for 2 years and then transfer to like a Cal State or a UC. That was like the vibe I got, that was like pretty common there. But yeah, and then I remember like once that plan was sort of put together, obviously there was still a little more uncertainties of like, what if I don't get in? Like, right. And I actually didn't the first round because my grades at Scripps were still weighing me down. But yeah, that was a disaster. But it really wasn't, though, because like I ended up getting in. I ended up like getting in again. And yeah. I don't know if that answered the question. Yeah, now I'm here now.
So then what has been the experience then? Because you are from Jersey, but then you went to school in California, but you also just like your part-time job in New York. So how has it been like, going from each environment and each coast as well? How has that been for you? And how have you found like ways for you to adjust to a new environment and to make friends?
Well, I feel like, I don't know, like I even though I'm only 22, I feel like I've lived a lifetime because of just moving around so much. I feel like I was a little bit of a different person in each place. But I feel like anyone can also say that. Like, I was such a different person when I was like growing up here, and then I went to college here, and now I'm working here. I just feel like mine was like very much like in a like a span of 3 years, going all over the place. But yeah, making friends. Growing up, I was always very like, I don't know. I remember growing up, my mom, she would take me and my brother to the park, and she'd be like, okay, kiddies, you have a mission. You need to make a friend, and whoever makes a friend first gets chicken nuggets at McDonald's.
Oh my gosh.
And the other just wouldn't?
Taylor just watches you eat.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't know. It's just maybe not. I mean, I'm sure like we both got something, but like I don't know. Maybe the other one got a Happy Meal. Maybe the other one was able to get a toy with the Happy Meal, and the other one was just I don't know. Like I almost feel like I was like thrown into a competition when I was little all the time. Whenever I was like taken to the park, it was like, okay, go make a friend, and we would have to come back to our mom and be like, this is my new friend. So I feel like, I don't know, growing up, like making friends was always like in the forefront of my mind. Like, cause I just, I don't know, like, you know, when my mind was forming and developing, that's just what was told to me. Like during, you know, fun playtime, my only instruction was, okay, go make a friend. Like, that was it. But I don't know, like, I don't know. And then, you know, I went out to college, and I don't know, in high school, I wasn't really the most social person. I was very introverted. I didn't really have a lot of friends, honestly. So I think that very much inspired me even more to be super social the second I like got out of Jersey. So I don't know, like you like what I've learned is just put yourself out there. You know, everyone always loves laughing, right? So maybe like crack a little joke or something, you know, find something in common. Like, you know, I would say like just making friends in all these places, you know, going to Claremont, and then, you know, when I was like living and interning in New York City, you know, when I went to UCSB, now here in Atlanta, like I've been able to form like a community of friends in all these places, but it definitely requires you to sort of put yourself out there. And I know that's very vague. And I feel like that's also like, oh, duh, like, you know, like that's not But to go back to your question, making friends, I would say like, you know what, sometimes friends can be found in the most untraditional places. Yeah, just don't be afraid to introduce yourself to people. I always think like grabbing like a lunch or a dinner or drinks is like a very great way to just like get to see like if you vibe with someone. And yeah, if someone seems interesting, if someone seems friendly, just do it.
So personally for me, I've never really lived away from home. Like right now, I've been in Madison for like 2 months. Oh, so personally, I've actually never really lived away from home. I went to college 30 minutes from home, and this is right now I've been in Madison for a couple months, and it's been the longest time I've been away from my actual home. And so I was just wondering for Maddie and even you, Annalise, because you kind of moved around a bit too. Like, is there a point where you ever feel like, oh, this new place I'm in is now home? Or do you always like view the time away from said home or wherever you consider home as just like this intermittent period where you're just away? And like, how do you make time? Like, I guess, how do you not view that intermittent time as kind of like what it is, like limbo time, if you may?
Yeah, I feel like this is a really cheesy answer, but oh, it's so cheesy, I hate it. But I really feel like for me, a lot of like home is dependent on like the people that I'm with and like in my life. Like it's so cheesy, but like for the longest time, so back in Shanghai, we moved like I think 3 or 4 times, just like 2 different apartments. But it always, I like every time I was in a new place, it felt like home because that was where my parents were and that was where my sister was. So that's kind of what I associate home with. And like even when we first moved to Delaware, my mom and my dad were always like, do you ever miss Shanghai? And I would honestly tell them like, no, not really. And I think it was just because like I like for me, home was just like where my parents and my family sister was. So because I was in Delaware with them, I was like, oh, it still feels like home because like at least I have that constant in my life and that's like still the same. And then with college, I think like that felt like home to me, but it was like a second home. And I think it was very much like my friends that I made that made it feel like home and like very much like a place I wanted to be in. So I didn't like, I knew it was kind of limbo time because that's like only 4 years of your life, assuming like depending on where you go and stuff. But it still felt like home because there was still this level of comfort and like the people that I was surrounded with. So I know that doesn't really answer your question, but I feel like a lot of it is dependent on like, for me at least, who's in my life and like who's there, and that can bring this feeling of home to you.
Yeah. Oh my God, absolutely. Absolutely. Some people really are just home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about like when you went to Boston, you were away from your family. What point did you ever get even to a point where you're like, oh, this is now my home, kind of?
So Boston's also tricky because I was born there, right? So for me, like we would go back every summer. So for me, that was like also still home in a way because I had so many childhood memories in Boston. So that's why it's always a little bit tricky because I think I was just lucky enough that I ended up in a place that I had like these good memories and like all these childhood memories associated with it. But it is interesting to like at a certain point I'm like in my apartment and I'm like, oh, this is my home, like this is where I live, this is my permanent resident, like I have a Massachusetts license and everything. So that is a little bit different in that like I think like that was probably the one thing that took some time for me because so much of it was just like new environment, like even though it was a place that I had these memories with, it's still new and that it's a new phase in my life too, so adjusting that and not being in school. So yeah, I mean I'm in a very weird phase right now where I'm in Delaware with my parents, but like everything is still in Boston right now, so it's like, yeah, Delaware's home, but like it's weird. I don't know, it's just a weird phase of my life right now. But yeah, I mean, again, like I made some friends in Boston too that did help me feel like it was home.
Yeah. Did your parents move from Boston to Delaware like when they just were kind of like done with it?
No, they moved. So my dad's job moved us to Shanghai.
Right. But did they move from like Shanghai to
Delaware directly?
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and then it was okay. Timing was also great because it was right after I finished high school too. So it wasn't like I had to start over in the middle of high school or senior year or something, in a completely different country.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's really
timing.
Really nice.
Yeah, timing I think also matters too, as to like when you move.
Yeah. I guess for me, I don't know. I feel a little reluctant to call certain things home sometimes because just how uprooted I feel like my life has become in the past 4 years. Like, oh, first I was in Claremont. Oh, now we're in Jersey. Oh, now we're in New York. Oh, now we're in Santa Barbara. Oh, now we're back in New York. Now we're back in Santa Barbara. Now we're in Atlanta. Like, like whoa. So I don't know. I don't really, it's not that I definitely do feel connected to places, definitely, but I don't know. Like I think I have commitment issues with locations. But I would say for me, like home is not New Jersey for me. I don't know because I didn't like it. I didn't like New Jersey. New Jersey's great. New Jersey's great. I think it gets a bad rep for no reason. Its beaches are amazing. You have some of the most spunky people there, but I just didn't love it myself. I don't know. I just never really felt like it was home. To me, New York was home. To me, New York feels the most like home. Because it's just where I feel like, I don't know, like I have like the people who are like the closest to me and, you know, have like literally been like, Maddie, like this is home for you. Like you belong here. Like this is home. And like, I don't know, like that like definitely, I mean, that's go to school. So that just, I don't know. And it's Santa Barbara. So that really feels more like a vacation. Like that. That doesn't feel like home. That just feels like vacation. Like let's go. I gotta crack open a book every once in a while. But but yeah, no, yeah. for me, home, I think, is just like where I feel the most passionate about.
Mm.
Yeah, I think like, yeah, I was just thinking like home for me is just like where I'm most comfortable. Not most comfortable, like if I feel comfortable in a place, it can feel like home for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, I feel similar.
Kimmy. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I'll go.
Oh, I was just saying, you spent an entire year like away, did it ever start to feel a little bit like home to you, or just not at all because you were like, this is so different?
Yeah, I feel similar to what Annalise was saying, where it's like home is where the people are that you like or love. But I feel like
Just
it
like.
doesn't necessarily always start that way. Like when I studied abroad, definitely had a good experience. But then the summer that I was studying abroad, I lived with family friends, and that felt like a third home because I knew them all. They were like my aunt and uncle. And then when I did a study abroad program up in San Francisco, I lived with people that I never met before, and we all ended up being really good friends. So like by the end of that semester, it felt like home because I like, got along well with them and trusted them a lot, and it was like a little family. But beyond that, I feel like just having all of my stuff makes like a place feel like home.
Yeah.
Just being able to be like, okay, this is the exact same clothes that I have at home. These are the exact same things I use wherever, makes the environment feel more comfortable.
I like that. I like that answer. Do you have like any like comfort objects?
Ooh.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay,
Do
I have
you?
So I'm
or just
embarrassed
like
to admit
something
this.
you bring? No, don't be.
No, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to admit this because I have 3 stuffed animals that I need with me to make it feel like home. But now that I'm home and I'm thinking about like going back to Boston, I'm like, I think I'm past the age where I need my stuffed animals. That like I know
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. That's not an embarrassing answer, by the way. I think everyone I know has like some sort of like stuffy or blanky that like as
but
a comfort thing.
Yeah, but I just don't know if I want to be like back in Boston and have like friends over and be like, hey, here's my stuffed animal. So
those are fake friends then. Those are judgmental friends.
Yeah, exactly. Are they really your friends?
Yeah. Okay. Going around, Brittany, if you saw a cute little stuffed animal on your friend's bed, would you be like, oh, what's that? Would you be like, okay.
I think I thought that. I was like, oh, that's so cute how you have your little toys on. I mean, not toy. Okay, I don't know.
My
comfort
items.
Well,
I feel like it's like, I don't know. I feel like something about going back to Boston after all of this is like, okay, I feel like I need to leave some things behind at home. Because I did bring my stuffed animals from Boston back home to Delaware because I needed them with me. But like going back now, I'm like, I don't know if I want to bring them back.
Maybe bring back one.
I can't separate them. That's the other.
Wait a second. So you're sitting there and you're like, I gotta leave the stuffed animals.
Well, I can't.
Like, I can't separate them.
I can't separate them. That's why I have to leave them all here together.
That's so funny.
I feel like it's okay.
I feel like since being away, I mean, I've only been away for a couple months, but I've kind of like really missed the location as well as the people. Like, of course, I miss my family a lot, and being here with my boyfriend, I have someone here that I love a lot, but I've like definitely had a breakdown already because there's this one ice cream shop I went to and then they didn't have the flavor I wanted. And I was like, I could have 5 of these ice cream shops within a 5-mile radius back home. And there's only 2 in this city. And I had to drive 20 minutes because it wasn't at the one that was closer. And so, yeah, I think that's really interesting that I've learned about myself is how much I like miss the physical location of being in, I mean, it's also Southern California, which is such a, like, I'm very grateful to be living in, but yeah, it's kind of weird how much I miss like the landscape or the amenities that I had access to back home. And yeah, definitely I think of home as like the physical space that I'm in, as well as the people.
Well, I guess it's also different. Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't know for sure, but I feel like it is different for both you, Brittany, and Kimmy, just because you two like did grow up in like the exact same setting, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I didn't think about the physical environment, because definitely anytime the airplane lands and we drive up the street to get back to my house, it's like that, just seeing the mountains and the palm trees where I live makes it feel like home. I'm like, yeah, look at those mountains.
I said the exact same thing today. I was like, I hate how flat it is. I was like, I hate how flat it is here. I need the mountains. I hate how I can't see anything.
Yeah. Nothing beats California scenery, mountains, scenic, everything. Nothing beats it. Nothing at all. I agree though, Kimmy. I definitely like I remember like growing up, like every time like we would go on a trip and then like come back, and you would like coming from the plane or like a long car ride, and you see like, you know, the thing that you're familiar with, it's like the palm trees. Or for me, there was like a farm by my house growing up. Like I remember every time like pass it, I'd be like, okay, home. Yeah. So I like that.
So Maddie, it sounds like you've had a lot of changes in your life, in your environment, some a little more planned than others, it sounds like.
Definitely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So have you had like any regrets maybe from changing your environment and the original plan of what your life seemed like it was going in? Changing your life and the direction it originally seems like it was going in?
Honestly, no. Honestly, no. I mean, it was definitely tough at times. And, you know, it was like, oh my God, I don't know, you know, what my next step is or where I'm going to be, or, you know, where I'm going to, you know, like, I don't know, like go to school, get income, live, et cetera, like stuff like that was very like in the air. And it was like, God darn it, like if I just stayed at Scripps, like I wouldn't be worried about these things. But I think because I had to constantly be on my toes and, you know, I'm thinking ahead, always thinking ahead, like next step, like very early in advance. I think it like developed a skill for me, and like always thinking ahead, always in like every scenario, think ahead. And I don't know, like I think a lot of the like, even though, you know, school has been like very sort of like all over the place these past 4 years, and like honestly like academics have not been my main focus these past 4 years. I think as a result though, I've developed like a lot of skills that I don't know if I would have developed if I just stayed in one place. Like for example, I feel so comfortable talking to anyone and everyone. Like I feel comfortable just going up to someone and like striking a conversation with them. It doesn't matter who it is. Like I feel very, very comfortable doing that. I feel like in these past couple years, I've had to deal with everyone of every different background and everything, like, you know, in person and talking. And I don't think I would have gotten that same opportunity if I was, you know, in just like the same place for 4 years. I think it definitely like sort of like continuously forced me to like put myself in situations that I knew I was going to be temporarily uncomfortable in. And not only is that just like changes of states, that's changes of workplaces, changes of, you know, just where I was living in those states, changes of friend groups, changes of all sorts of things. Just, yeah, like everything you think of, all sorts of changes in every sort of subset of group. And, you know, I learned to become very comfortable with the uncomfortable. And if anything, I think I seek it out a little more now because I'm just like, ooh, like, I don't know. I like challenging myself now with like different types of like environments, and they really range. Like I remember like sometime in the middle of like my year off, I was in New York, and I had to use the restroom somewhere. And a big thing about New York is like, it's very difficult to find somewhere to use the restroom that isn't like a disgusting Starbucks bathroom. All of the worst things happen outside of the Starbucks bathroom, I swear to God. But I was right near Columbia University, and you know, I was like, oh, okay, they probably have a bathroom in there. But lo and behold, I walked into one of their like alumni ceremonies.
Oh my gosh.
But then I decided to have fun with it. And I walked in and they're like, hi, yes, like, who are you? And I was like, oh, hi, I'm Maddie. I'm class of 2006. I'm here for the alumni ceremony. Is there a coat check? There's a coat check, right? There's a coat check around here? Okay, great. Thank you. And I just like pretended for like a second to do that. But I think it's because there was like something in my mind where it was like, do it. Put yourself in this different scenario and see if you could sink or swim. And that's just like how I've handled like the past few years. I mean, I'm like honest about it most of the time and like present myself as like Maddie, not like Maddie class of 2006 at Columbia. Like, you know, most of the time, like I'm honest about it. But like, I think just like doing things like that and forcing myself continuously in those scenarios. I have so many. Like I was like, okay, this was worth just saying, you know, bye to the, you know, expected 4 years I was supposed to do, and just having a completely different experience, meeting people that I never would have gotten to meet, and getting close with people I never would have gotten to get close with unless I did something different. But I did have one moment of regret, like a very, very clear moment that stuck out to me. And it was fall 2019. It was the first time I went and visited Claremont since I left Scripps. So it was a little monumental for me, I feel like, because I had been to the campus in so long, you know, I left, and there was this whole like, oh, will I come back? And, you know, it was just, I don't know, like it was the first time I was there, and like even though it had only been like 3 years, like it just felt so like foreign coming back, but it also didn't, you know. But I remember I was coming for the Euro Bash party at Scripps. I drove from Santa Barbara to Claremont, parked my car at Honnold Mudd Library. I was about to meet with Vicky Flores Najas, CMC class of 2020. Shout out to her. She's one of my best friends. I was about to meet up with her, and I parked my car. I was carrying my stuff, and I got onto CMC campus. It was about 7 p.m. It was dusk. Everyone was at dinner. It was completely silent on campus. All you could hear was like a little thud of like a skateboard going on the concrete. And it was the part of campus where you're looking at, right ahead of you is the cube. And, you know, you're sort of surrounding it. And then behind it, saying nothing and like saying everything at the same time, the Kravis building. And I feel like if there's a spot on Claremont that's so like, not breathtaking, but like, wow, like I'm at a special place, it's that. Or it's at least one of those places. Because it's so like, I don't know, and like the way that it lights up, it's like lights it up in the perfect areas and stuff. And I felt like I was the only person there. And I just remember looking at what was in front of me, and I was like, damn, like this is what I gave up. This is what I turned my back on. And I had a moment of regret. I was like, Hattie, like this is what you said bye to. This is what you were like, nope. no thanks, like bye. I don't know. I did like this little like 360 like in a spot, and I was like, wow, like this was it. I don't know. I was also, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I was having myself a little cinematic moment of like regretting Claremont, regretting leaving Claremont. And then, I gave Kravis another look, and I was like, I mean, I dug my grave. I made my bed. I need to lie in it. It's not like I can go back. It's not like I can transfer back in. Like, I chose this path, and I love the path I chose. But this is what you gave up, but it's okay. And I was like, I picked up my stuff, and I was like, no regrets. You can't have regrets. You cannot have regrets. That was that. It was like a core memory. I don't know.
Yeah, you painted that picture really well. I was just like visualizing it the whole time. Especially the skateboard. I could like no joke hear
I know
that
the sound.
You can hear it.
Like the hollow part too.
It's so hollow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I really sat there. I remember it was like, wow, Matt, you gave this up. Like, dang. But yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I'm sure maybe there are people that actually have absolutely zero regrets, but I feel like it's hard to not at least miss or like think about the alternative of what something could have been, especially like when it is such a big life change like you took.
Yeah, entirely. Yeah, like I just was like, dang, like you maybe would have had like way less stress these past 4 years and way less like everything's unknown. Like, if you attended, and I think I still would have had a great time, a great adventure if I attended Scripps. I'm not saying, I would have been like so bad. No, I think it would have been wonderful as well. But like, I don't know, I feel like I really went on like my own customized adventure as a result. And I wouldn't give that up for the world.
That's great to hear. Yeah, that's so cool that even though you are so young, you've been able to live in a bunch of different places and experience new environments and meet new people. Like, I feel like there's not that many people that are our age that can say that they've had the same experience that you've had. And it seems like it's really made an impact. And you're still in school, so that's like super cool.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice.
And you are the first person that we've had on that is still an undergrad. So we were wondering, how has going to all these different places and meeting new people really changed or influenced where you want to be like post-grad throughout your adulthood journey? Do you have anything in mind?
Whew. Hey guys, this is a great podcast. I had a great time. Yeah, I mean, of course, it definitely has had like, an impact on, my future career wants, hopes, and dreams. Honestly, like, I still feel a bit up in the air about things. Like, a lot of my professional experience is in digital marketing and that realm of things, and that's definitely something that I have really learned to master over these past few years, having a lot of internships in that realm. But I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love like, okay, dream job. I would love to be a talk show host. I would love it.
I could see it. I was gonna say that.
I would literally fulfill me. But like, whose dream? I mean, actually, that is not a lot. I mean, a lot of people don't have that dream job, but it's also a dream job of a lot of people. So it's like, how do you stand out? And like, luckily there is like, social media has really changed the game for that entire space. Like, social media shook the entertainment industry and was like, no, like the most relevant people in your world are just, nope, they're no longer. our people in our world have become the most relevant people in your world.
Yeah.
The social media people becoming super relevant in the entertainment world. Like for example, this really popular YouTuber, I'm sure you guys have probably heard of her, Lily Singh.
I think so.
Yeah, she's the first. Or go ahead.
Yeah, she has a talk show. Like she is the first.
Yeah.
I was about to say woman of color, but you know, Oprah has entered the chat. She is the
first South Asian woman. Yeah,
the first South Asian woman to have a talk show, which is
in the States.
In the States, which is amazing. But yeah, I mean, I would love to do that. But also, you know, that is an industry that's very difficult to break in. But also, I can't picture myself doing anything else. So you see, there's like a whole balance and stuff, but obviously, you know, there's like backup options and stuff like that. And yeah, so eventually I would love to do that, but that's such a dream. And there's a lot of steps to get there. And I need to take those steps. One of them I've been considering has been to start a podcast, which is like sort of like I was telling Kitty about this. Yeah. And I mean, like, I would love to definitely like get you guys, like, if you want like guidance on that, like when I eventually do. But yeah, I feel like that's like a step in between there somehow.
Definitely. What about location wise? Like, I know you said you love New York. Do you expect to return or?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, no, I've been texting my friends, like, yeah, I'm going back after grad. Like, I miss it so much. I see so many like TikToks of people romanticizing the living shit out of New York. Yeah. And like, I look at those and I'm like, that literally used to be my life. Wow, I could go back to that, like, you know. But I love Los Angeles too. I love, like, you know, the scenery of it. I like literally, I just love driving around Los Angeles. Like me and my friend, me and one of my best friends, Maisie, during quarantine, when we would get bored, we just like drive around Los Angeles and like look at pretty houses and give them ratings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I love Los Angeles. I'd also love to go abroad at some point. Like, I'd love to like live in London for a bit, and experience that. So I definitely want to go back to New York. For now, that is my plan after I graduate, but I don't think that's my plan forever. And I don't know. I mean, hey, if you told me 3 years ago I would be in Atlanta, what? I wouldn't believe you, but here I am. So I mean, I could say what I want to do, but is that going to happen? Maybe not. But, you know.
So, Maddie, if you could give our listeners just one tip on just adjusting to a new location and environment, what would that tip be?
Yeah. So if you were in a new place, and you just moved somewhere new. Okay, scenario. Let's say, you know, you're out of college and you just moved to Seattle, right? But you also know that this person who is friends with this person who you are aware of, but maybe you don't really talk to, but you have them on Facebook or Instagram, you know, they're in Seattle, reach out to them. Send them a DM, reach out to them. You know, it like, just if you get somewhere and you notice like people on your social media who are also there and you went to school with them or you worked with them or they were like a friend of a friend or something, reach out to them. Do not hesitate. Reach out to them. Be like, hey, like, excuse me. Burping.
Make that sound.
Let's normalize this. Be like, hey, you know, like, I just moved here. Like, you know, I think we know each other from blank or through blank. Like, you know, I really want to like check out this place. Like, I'd love to grab brunch or dinner or drinks. Like, if you're down. And I mean, I certainly did that a lot. People definitely have shot me that message and never has it gone. I mean, you know, sometimes like, you know, you get along better with some people than others, but like people are always down. People are always down to meet up. People are always down to grab drinks, grab dinner, like, you know, get to meet new people. Like, as much at like, I feel like, you know, some people when the pandemic started, they're like, oh, I hate people, so this is great. No, we love people. We need people to survive. Humans are social creatures. So like, just don't be afraid if you're somewhere new and you are like, there's this person here, but like, we had a mutual friend, but we never really talked. Reach out. Who cares? Like, what are they going to do? Say no? Maybe, but there's like a 1% chance of that happening. Like, I've never gotten a no, like, and never a ghosting either. Like, or actually maybe sometimes that happens, but basically nine times out of 10, when you reach out to someone and you have some sort of connection, maybe you follow each other on something, you're friends on Facebook, you have a mutual friend, and you're like, hey, let's do this, let's grab this, I want to ask about this, like, they will probably say yes. And you can do that. And maybe you just made yourself a new friend. So that is my adulting advice. If you're somewhere new right now, if you just picked up a job somewhere and you're like, hey, I like my job, I like where I live, but dang, like, how do I meet people? Go on Facebook, go on Instagram, see like who you're following, who your mutuals are, and you would be surprised. When I came out here to Atlanta, I was like, I don't know anyone. But then I went on my Snapchat. It was like week 2 of being here. I went on my Snapchat map and I like went on the Snap and I was like, wait, oh my God. Like, there was a girl that went to Scripps that I was like quasi friends with, and she lives in Atlanta, and I hit her up and she was like, yeah, like, let's grab lunch. And we did. And you know what? Last week we went to Utah together. So friendship was made. But yeah, so that's my adulting advice. Never be afraid to reach out. And, if you're somewhere new, and, it's a great way to just, feel less alone in a new place.
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's a really good idea. It's a really good tip. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course. Yeah. No, I'd like highly encourage anyone to do that 100%.
So, Maddie, would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, absolutely. You can find me in Atlanta. Please come hang out with me.
My home address is.
Yeah, exactly.
If you wanted to really know about me, this is my social security number. Hi. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at MDDYDNTN. It is my name without vowels, Maddy Denton, but just without the vowels. On TikTok, I am a deep fried applesauce underscore.
Underscore at the end too.
Not spelled out.
Oh. The actual underscore.
Just the actual underscore, yeah. I think those are the only social medias I'll be giving out. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, totally always down for that. I'm Maddy Denton on LinkedIn. I just hit over 500 connections, but I can still make 1,000 plus, so let's go.
I'll get to 1,000 plus, everyone. Thanks again for joining us, Maddie, and thanks for sharing your stories. Me. Yeah. Thanks for just, giving people some advice and just telling our listeners about your experience moving around and adjusting to new environments. So thank you so much.
I think, you guys just, I don't know, I really, really like how, there's no front being put on. It's like, we are all adulthood pending. We're all adult-ish. And people in our age range, we're adult-ish. And I like how you guys aren't just like, you know what, like put the walls down, like, there's no need to front that like we have it all together, right? At 22 years old, like, no. So I really commend you guys for doing that. I think, especially during a time where things are really scary right now for people our age, like going into the workforce, like, I think it's very honestly commendable that you guys did this. So props.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
If you want to listen to us struggle some more in adulthood, you can just keep, you know where to find us. We're at Adulthood Pending Podcast on Instagram. And you can send us an email as well to hello.adulthoodpendingpodcast@gmail.com. Join us every other Monday for new episodes, and we can't wait to share our stories and excite you with us on our adulthood journey.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.